Hello students, we are starting with the fourth part of chapter Human Health and Diseases. In previous part, that is part 3, we had talked about certain diseases. Now we are going to complete talking about few more. Let us start. First we are going to talk about typhoid. It is an acute infection of intestine. Now word acute means which is not of longer duration. There are two words which come together, acute and chronic. Chronic is a long-term infection and acute is for short-term or sudden infection. In this case, typhoid is acute infection of intestine. Causative organism is Salmonella typhi. It is a gram-negative bacteria. There is a stain called as Gram stain invented by scientist Gram. He used this stain to stain bacteria. The bacteria who take up the stain are called as Gram positive and those who don't take it are called as Gram negative. It is found in intestinal lumen of infected person. Inside the intestine you can see this bacterium. Now here is the structure. The bacterium has capsule having K antigen, then O antigen or which is called as cell wall antigen, and it has flagella. On flagella there is H antigen. Pathogenicity is due to O antigen or a lipopolysaccharide present on the surface coat. Now if you split this word lipopolysaccharide, lipo is lipid and polysaccharide is carbohydrate. It is a complex of lipid and carbohydrate which forms the O antigen. Now the flagella contains H antigen. The antigens are responsible for pathogenicity or the disastrous effect that the pathogen causes on human health. Now, what are the signs and symptoms of typhoid? Prolonged fever, 104 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, it is 1040 here, but it is the next zero is actually the degree sign. General nausea, fatigue, headache, abdominal pain, constipation or diarrhea, rose colored rash on skin, white coat on tongue and cough, anorexia, that is loss of appetite, and breathlessness, irregular heartbeats, hemorrhage if the person is not treated after seeing the first few symptoms. How it is transmitted? It is a food and waterborne disease. Housefly, cockroaches are the pests that you find around in your house. They feed on the fecal matter and they may transfer the bacteria to the food material that we intake. So the food we take should be hygienic. It should not be infested with cockroaches or there should not be houseflies. Poor hygiene habits and poor sanitation are also responsible for transmission of this disease. How do you diagnose it? There is a test called as Vidal test. We will not go into the detail. You just remember the name of the test for now. The test which is used to detect the pathogen of typhoid, that is Salmonella typhi, is Vidal test. Treatment: in severe cases, gallbladder has to be removed. Antibiotics like chloromycetin is very helpful. Prevention is always better than cure. WHO recommends 2 vaccines as oral TY21 vaccine, 21A vaccine, and injectable typhoid polysaccharide vaccine as Typhim 6 and Typhirix. Then the next disease is pneumonia, which we are most aware of. It is an inflammatory condition of lungs or alveoli of lungs. Now, inflammation we are aware of. There are 4 cardinals of inflammation: reddening, pain, swelling, and there is temperature is increased. So, Variety of pathogens are responsible for pneumonia. See, the causative organism might be different, but ultimately the effect is accumulation of liquid in the alveoli and there is inflammation of lungs. Now, the first causative organism can be a virus like influenza, adenovirus, parainfluenza, or respiratory syncytial virus RSV, or there can be a bacterium like Streptococcus pneumoniae or fungal pathogen like pneumocystis cystis girovesi and pneumocystis carinii. So you can see here the causative organisms can be classified into three groups: viruses, bacteria, and fungi. Here you can see the pathogens causing pneumonia. Then there can be one more factor which is responsible for pneumonia, that is chemical burns or physical injury to the lungs. Now you can figure out here the causes might be different, but the ultimate result and signs and symptoms will be like this. Cough produces yellow or greenish sputum or phlegm. There is mucoid substance which becomes greenish or yellowish colored. High fever, breath is short, which is called as dyspnea. Chest pain during deep breath or coughing. Loss of appetite, fatigue, headaches, vomiting, joint pains, and muscle aches. Now here you can see here normal alveolar structure, and here this is normal alveoli, and here the person from suffering from pneumonia shows the accumulation of liquid in alveolar sacs. Then how it is transmitted? Mostly by person to person directly, also can spread via droplets released by infected person and by using shared clothes and utensils. So these are the methods, these are the ways by which the causative organisms can spread from an infected person to a healthy person. How do you diagnose it? It depends upon the pathogen. For bacterial pneumonia, antibiotics like benzyl, penicillin, ampicillin, and chloramphenicol are effective. And how do you diagnose it? By studying the sputum under microscope. Then examination of the person can be done. Prevention is by vaccination in both children and adult. Vaccines against Haemophilus influenzae, Streptococcus pneumoniae in first years of life help greatly to reduce chances of causing pneumonia. That is why children are immunized in the early years, so that they do not catch infections in later during their life. Now next disease which we almost everyone has come across, which everyone has suffered, is common cold. It is a viral infectious disease of upper respiratory tract, also called as nasopharyngitis. Now the name itself will tell you that what are the parts of upper respiratory tract involved in the condition. Acute viral rhinopharyngitis is also the name. Acute coryza or cold is also the name of common cold, caused by a group of viruses called rhinoviruses and coronaviruses. Now you might be wondering the situation that we are suffering, coronavirus, but this is a different virus than common cold virus. Coronavirus, you can say, is a little higher advanced version of coronavirus which causes common cold, but we can find a commonality in corona and common cold, that they both are not cured easily. Your immunity has to be increased. Now here the rhinovirus of common cold is shown. Signs and symptoms we most are aware of: cough, sore throat, running nose and fever, nasal congestion, choking, that is sneezing, conjunctivitis. Your eyes become really red when got the cold. Muscle rashes, fatigue, headaches, shivering, and loss of appetite are some symptoms. How do you prevent it? Staying away from the person suffering from common cold, washing hands with soap and water, using handkerchief to cover nose and mouth during coughing and sneezing, and sanitizers also can be used. So what you can do is you can avoid the spread of cold. A person who is already suffering from cold, you can stay away from that person. Like here also you can see a commonality between the preventive measure of common cold and corona. You have to stay away from the infected person. Next is ringworm or dermatophytosis, fungal infection of skin. This also I think you are aware of. It can be caused due to many fungal species belonging to genera Trichophyton and Microsporum, feeding on keratin in skin. Keratin is a protein in skin, hair, and nails. And here a hand of a person is shown where a lesion is there caused due to the fungus causing ringworm. Signs and symptoms: infected skin shows enlarged red ring caused due to ringworm, appearance of dry scaly lesions on various parts of body, red patches causing intense itching. Infections to nail is termed as onychomycosis, in which nails become thick, discolored, and disfigured. Athlete's foot is a fungal infection that usually begins between the toes. Now, how does it transmit? Now, spreads by sharing clothes. Now, this is actually a fungus, the causative organism. So, it obviously spreads its spores, and if the clothing or things of an infected person are shared, obviously the spores are also shared along with it. Close contact with infected person is also a mode of transmission. Diagnosis is by physical examination. Easily it can be identified. The patches and the ring-like lesions can be the mark to identify the dermatophytosis. Treatment is drugs like Nystalin, fluconazole, and litraconazole. Now you have to just remember the names of the medicines. Prevention is by avoiding close contact, sharing clothes, sports equipment, etc. Washing clothes in hot water, which kills fungus, with fungicidal soap helps to destroy fungal pathogen. So, best to avoid the contact with the infected person, sharing his clothing or things, and washing the clothes and the utensils that you are using by chance with hot water and fungicidal soaps. Then dengue. It is a fever, painful and debilitating. Debilitating means weakening. It weakens the host, and it is a vector-borne disease. Now we have already known about vector. Vector is a carrier of a disease, like in case mosquito, fleas, flies, these are the common vectors. It is caused by any or 4 closely related dengue viruses. Cannot spread directly from person to person, but if there is vector like Aedes mosquito, now you can see here, you can see the white patches on its legs, so you can identify the dengue mosquito Aedes. If this mosquito bites an infected person and again goes to suck the blood of a healthy person, automatically the virus from the mosquito is transferred to the healthy person. This is female Aedes mosquito. You can see the structure of virus also here. Now, most scary and widely spread, I mean most common now this disease has become, is cancer. It is abnormal, uncontrolled, and purposeless division of cells. What do we understand by that? Now, normally also in our body, the cells are dividing. When there is an injury, to um, patch up the gap or to recover, the cells undergo division and they seal the gap. But in this case, there is the cell division which is not required. That is why it is called as abnormal, and this is not under the check. The cells keep on dividing. That is why it is called as uncontrolled and purposeless. There is no need of the cell division. Then it leads to the development of mass of undifferentiated cells, which is called as a tumor. It is a mass of cells having undifferentiated cells. Malignant tumor is called as cancer. Malignancy means which has ability to go to different tissues and invading the other tissues. All tumors are not cancers. Now we are going to understand the difference between tumor and cancer. Cancer harms the body when cancer cells divide uncontrollably to form new lumps and masses of tissue called neoplasm, except in cases of leukemia. Now, in cancer, the cells undergo rapid uncontrollable cell division and they go to the different tissues forming lumps of cells, which interferes with the normal cellular and tissue activities and causes harm. Tumors can grow and interfere with normal functioning of various organs. They also release secretions which alter body functions. In this way, these tumors and cancers, they are interfering with normal body functions and causing the diseased condition. Oncologists, the ones who are specialized in the study, diagnosis, treatment and prevention of cancer. First, you need to study cancer causing agents, cancer cells. You have to diagnose whether it is a cancer. Treatment and prevention are also the most important factors, and those who do it are called as oncologists. Tumors can be developed anywhere in body. There are two types of tumors, benign and malignant. Let's understand the difference. These are the two types of tumors. Benign tumors grow slowly. They may attain a quite large size. Here the growth rate is rapid. Then benign tumors, this is the most characteristic feature, they remain restricted to a site of its origin. Where the tumor is formed, it stays there. It doesn't go, the cells do not leave the region and go anywhere else. It is a localized type of tumor, does not spread to other part of body. This is a very important characteristic. Rapid growth here causes overcrowding and disruption of normal cells. Then here malignant tumors show metastasis. Mortality rate is more than benign tumors. Benign tumors are not many times harmful and fatal. They do not cause death, but exception is brain tumor. Brain tumor may cause death because brain gets squeezed against the hard skull. The mass of cells is formed in brain tissue and brain literally gets squeezed due to the increasing mass, and this mass has no space to grow because there is skull outside. So in this case, this tumor becomes lethal or harmful. In malignant tumor, the cells are spread from one organ to the other via blood, lymph, and they form new tumors called secondary tumors. This migratory process is called as metastasis. Now let us understand clearly what that means. Tumor or this malignant tumor or cancer originates in one organ. Now the cells divide uncontrollably. These cells get detached, they get loosened, and via bloodstream they go to some other organ, and there they form new neoplasms. And this migratory process is called as metastasis, which is a characteristic feature of malignant tumor. Benign tumors may sometimes become malignant, that is adenoma and fibroid. Now you have to remember the difference between benign and malignant. One characteristic feature is benign or non-malignant tumors remain localized where they originate. Malignant tumors or cancers, they show metastasis. Please remember the terminologies. Now here I will show you a diagram where you will see benign tumor is showing a mass or a lump. It is localized. But here in malignant tumors or cancers, the cells start detaching and they migrate to different organs, showing metastasis. Now, different types of cancers according to the type of tissue they affect, and they are named according to the tissue in which they arise. Now, the first is carcinoma. This arises in epithelial tissue covering or lining of body. Now, you have to associate the name or type of cancer with the tissue in which it is arising. Example is breast cancer, lung cancer, cancer of stomach, skin cancer. Now you can relate it. Cancer of stomach, skin cancer means the epithelial tissue is getting affected. Epithelial tissue is showing the cancer. Sarcoma is when the cancer arises in connective tissue. Bone tumors, osteosarcoma, muscle tumors, myosarcoma, cancers of cartilage, chondrosarcoma, cancer of adipose tissue, liposarcoma. We have studied the types of tissues in 11th standard. So if you understand, if you are aware of the information about epithelial and connective tissue, you can easily relate to the cancers arising in them. Then lymphoma. Lymphoma arises in lymphatic tissue. Now the name is related. Occurs in lymphatic nodes, spleen, tissues of immune system. Leukemia, blood cancer. Excessive formation of WBCs or leukocytes in bone marrow. They have people who have leukemia, they have very high leukocyte count. Millions of abnormal immature WBCs are found. Now what is done is blood smear is analyzed of these patients, and WBCs which are immature can be seen in a large quantity. Now as they are immature, they are not able to fight infection. There can be different types of leukemias: monocystic, lymphoblastic, etc. And lastly, adenocarcinoma. This cancer arises in glands like thyroid, pituitary, adrenal, and other glandular tissues. So these are the different types of cancers. What might be the causes? There are some carcinogenic cancer causing factors which are as follows: chemicals, nicotine, caffeine, combustion of coal and oil. The workers which continuously work in the coal mines, oil refineries, they are predisposed, they are exposed to the carcinogens, and they have a high predisposition of cancer. Polycyclic hydrocarbons, sex hormones, steroids, if given or secreted in large amounts, may be carcinogenic. Breast cancer has a hormonal relationship. It is seen that those women who avoid breastfeeding, they are more prone to breast cancers. Second is radiation. X-ray, gamma rays, cosmic rays, UV rays are carcinogenic. Incidence of skin cancer is higher in people working in very sunny areas due to UV radiation. X-ray technicians, they have high exposure to the radiations, so they are also prone to get cancers. Virus Certain viruses are causing cancers. They carry the genes, viral oncogenes, Epstein-Barr virus, human papilloma virus are such viruses causing cancers. Oncogenes, there are several genes or cancer causing genes. C-oncogenes, proto-oncogenes are present in normal cells. Even we might be carrying these genes in our cells, but when they are activated under certain conditions, they lead to oncogenic transformation. That is, they are present in inactive state, but there are some conditions which can activate them, and there might be the cancer occurring in that person. Then addiction, different types of addictions like smoking, tobacco chewing, they lead to cancers of mouth, lips and lungs. Alcohol consumption leads to cancer of esophagus, stomach, intestine and livers. Drugs like marijuana, anaerobic steroids are also responsible for cancer. Treatment, combination of number of therapies, chemotherapy, name itself suggests administration of certain anti-cancer drugs. These work in a peculiar way. These check the cell division, or they put a control on cell division by inhibiting DNA synthesis. DNA is not allowed to synthesize, so automatically cell division is stopped, and they are more toxic to the cancerous cells than the normal cells. But it is causing hair loss in the patients, and severe hair loss is resulted, but when the therapy stops, the hair can regrow. Radiotherapy, it is used in combination with chemotherapy. Cancerous cells are bombarded with rays, and such as radioactive materials are used, such as cobalt, iridium, iodine, etc. The X-rays, gamma rays, and charged particles are used to destroy cancerous tissue. Here, literally, the cancerous tissues are burnt and causing minimum damage to the surrounding normal tissues. Surgery, entire cancerous tissue can be excised or removed surgically, but it has limited utility because some of the cells can escape, and they again result in the tumors or cancers. But it is most effective in cases such as breast tumors, uterine tumors. In combination to surgery, other treatments are also given to kill any cancerous cells if they may have been escaped. In surgery, it is not possible to remove each and every cell. Immunotherapy. Now, the tumor cells are very smart. They avoid detection and destruction by immune system. Now, what we can do is the patients can be given substances called as biological response modifiers, such as alpha interferon. Interferons we are aware of. These are the chemicals released by virus infected cells to signal the surrounding cells that there is virus around. So such interferons can activate immune system and help in destroying the tumors. Supportive therapies, these are used to treat symptoms of cancers and side effects of cancer treatments. Why we are doing it? To improve the quality of life of a cancer patient, and it depends on the condition of individual patients. Such 5 therapies can be given. Now we go to the next and very scary disease. It is actually a syndrome, acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, AIDS. Fatal illness, it is usually caused due to retrovirus carrying single-stranded RNA, ssRNA. The virus is human immunodeficiency virus, or HIV. The syndrome is AIDS, acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, and the virus which causes it is HIV, human immunodeficiency virus. This virus weakens the body's immune system. So, the patient becomes vulnerable to life threatening opportunistic infections. Or, like the person can get very easily attacked by pathogens, and very easily that person can become ill. Neurological disorders also occur, and unusual malignancies can occur. Now, structure is it is a spherical virus, 100 to 140 nanometer in diameter. Now you can see here the virus has single-stranded RNA and enzyme reverse transcriptase in the core, and uh, one can see here two layers of proteins. Two layers of proteins can be seen. Outer layer is a matrix protein P17. Then inner is capsid protein P24. Now here P17 and P24. Now there is additional layer of lipids impregnated with glycoprotein GP120 and GP41. Now one more time I'll show you. Outer layer is of P17, here the yellow dotted, and inner is of P24. These are the two protein layers, and outside there is additional layer of glycoprotein having impregnated GP120 and 41. It is the layer of lipids having the glycoproteins GP120 and GP41. Now, this virus replicates actively in T4 lymphocytes and can remain in inactive or latent stage in lymphoid cells. It has unique ability to destroy human T lymphocytes, T4 lymphocytes. It is found greatest concentration in blood, semen, cerebrospinal fluid, and less in tears, milk, urine, saliva, cervical and vaginal secretions. Mode of transmission. Now, unsafe sexual contact through blood, through mother to child, transplacental. Pregnant woman can transmit the virus to her fetus through the shared blood circulation, or a nursing mother can transmit it to her baby from her breast milk. Other methods are very rare: accidentally needle injury or artificial insemination with infected donated semen, transplantation with infected organs are accidental methods of mode of transmission. Clinically, 4 stages can be seen: initial infection with virus and formation of antibodies. Initially, when the virus infects the human body forms the antibodies in 2 to 8 weeks after initial infection. Secondly, asymptomatic carrier stage. There are asymptomatic means there are no signs of a disease. The individual appears perfectly healthy. Incubation period ranges for 6 months to 10 years. There you can see no signs of any disease. AIDS related complex, ARC, with one or more of the following clinical signs. In this third stage, recurrent fever for longer than 1 month, fatigue, unexplained diarrhea, night sweats, shortness of breath, loss of more than 10% of body weight. These are the symptoms start appearing in the third stage. And fourthly, it is the end stage characterized by life-threatening opportunistic infections like pneumonia, tuberculosis, Kaposi sarcoma. Now this Kaposi sarcoma is appearance of patches or several swollen lesions on skin or mucous membrane. So in four such stages, you can see in first two there are no signs or symptoms seen. In third, there are signs seen, and in fourth, it is the end stage of AIDS. How do you prevent it? It has no cure, so one must have prevention, which is a best choice. First, high risk groups should be educated about HIV transmission. Now, the sex workers or prostitutes, they need to have proper education about HIV transmission because they are high risk group. Then disposable needles and syringes should be used and disposed of properly and immediately. Using the same syringe again increases the risk of AIDS. Sexual habits should be changed immediately. That means one must not be sexual partner of more than one individual. High risk group should refrain from donating blood. Those who have high predisposition or high risk of acquiring the disease should not donate blood. Toothbrushes, brushes, razors, and other articles that can become contaminated with blood should not be shared. Then, before receiving blood, it should be ensured that it is screened for not containing HIV infections. There should not be the virus present. Routine screening should be done for blood donors, organ donors, donors of semen and growth hormone, patients undergoing hemodialysis, females in high risk group who are pregnant or completing pregnancy, contemplating pregnancy. Now, these are some preventive measures. Diagnosis, how we can detect whether a person has AIDS or not by using two tests. First is to detect HIV antibodies by using a technique called ELISA, enzyme linked immunosorbent assay. And second is the confirmatory test to confirm whether the person has the virus. It is called as Western blot. First is ELISA, second is Western blot, highly specific test based on specific antibody to viral core protein and envelope glycoprotein. This test will make sure that the person has virus or not. Treatment, although it is not treatable or it has no cure, but there are some antiviral drugs which can help reduce the viral load and prolong the life of HIV patient. Example, antiretroviral therapy, ART. It is a retrovirus, so HIV is a retrovirus, so antiretroviral therapy is used. TDF, tenofovir, EFB, efavirenz, and lamivudine 3TC are some drugs. These are used for treatment of AIDS. So here we complete talking about some very important diseases. Thank you.